You take you a deuce. You don't sit there and look at it. You flush it and move on.
What? Woody, are you Jalen Hurts' ghostwriter now? The Eagles running backs had 3 runs last night. What that was about. And the ceiling for the Dallas Cowboys if Dak Prescott's going to play like this. Let's go. Whether it was ineffective Hurts or a bad game plan for Philadelphia, or that T-shirt that Nick Sirianni wore all week coming back to haunt him. By the way, the Cowboys responded to that T-shirt with a full-on Monday night dismantling. Dak Prescott, 21 of 26, 238 and 3 for the season, 77.5 completion percentage. He says he's playing at his career best level. Woody Page around the horn to you. If Dak is going to play like that, what is the ceiling for the Cowboys?
I think he is playing at his best, and you didn't really expect that coming back off the awful injury from last year. But he reminded me last night of Russell Wilson when he's at his best, that he was in total control. He knew when to go down. He could scramble out of trouble, but he would go down rather than trying to force it another 5 or 6 yards. And I think what's really important to him and that team is they're able to get such a strong running game. And Mike McCarthy was smart enough to keep Kellen Moore as the offensive coordinator, because when they are rushing for more than 150 yards, they're 10-0 with Moore as the offensive coordinator. So when you got that combination of Dak playing so well and with their running game, yes, in looking at the schedule, and you know I do that, Tony, they've got 10 or 11 winnable games that are right there in front of them. If they want to, they're going to run away with that division, and they're finally going to be a factor in the playoffs again because of Dak.
What is Dallas's ceiling if Dak plays like that?
Well, I'm, of course, going to agree that we had questions about Dak after the injury, not just the injury last year, but then the injury in training camp. But the questions about this team were always about the defense. We've seen this team with Dak healthy, playing great, and they were an 8-8 team because their defense wasn't good enough. And last year, the defense was a disaster. So what I'm looking at for their ceiling is the defense that's forced 8 turnovers through 3 games. That leads the NFL. I'm looking at Diggs, who looks like he's taken this massive step and all of a sudden is one of the most dangerous secondary players in the league. I'm looking at, that defense keeping up with the offense that's playing kind of what we expected, assuming that Dak could be healthy. So the ceiling is super high. And to Woody's point, there is a schedule out there for public consumption by all of us, and we can all look at it and say, based on the first couple games, they're going to win a lot of games this year if the defense keeps this up.
It's possible Woody copyrighted the line, though, about 17 and a half years ago. Kevin Blackistone, you've covered the Dallas Cowboys in their heyday, which is, 30 years ago. But what is the ceiling for this team if you see Dak play like that?
Well, it's a lot better than he showed last night and the team showed last night. Let's not forget, Amari Cooper, not there last night, and the offense still sparkled. Lawrence, not on defense last night, and that defense still confused Hurt. And Trayvon Diggs, what a play for him, taking that ball back, the pick 6 that he had. Also, the defense taking away another pass at the goal line that Hurts probably wants back, an underthrown pass. So a great all-around performance by that team.
But let me ask you this, Kevin. How much, and sorry to interrupt, I might even say pardon the interruption, how much of that is Philadelphia? You're playing the Eagles here.
Right.
And how much of that is the Cowboys have taken a step up?
Well, I think with the offense, it's definitely the Cowboys taking a step up. I mean, Dak Prescott, who we didn't see for almost the entire year last year, didn't even see him in preseason, only practiced with 11 guys 2 weeks before the season started, has been spectacular. He is your comeback player of the year right now in the NFL. And as far as the defense is concerned, I mean, they just played well last night. They look like a defense that can take this team into the playoffs.
Monica, last night, how much was the Cowboys taking a step and how much was, well, they played Philadelphia and Jalen Hurts, for all intents and purposes, it's still a rookie. This is his 7th career start last night.
I don't know why we have to separate the two. I think Dak returning is tremendous. He's got a 75% completion rating through his first 3 games, which is the second best in the Super Bowl era. And in back-to-back games, he's notched 80%, which puts him in the category with Troy Aikman, who was the last quarterback to do that for the Cowboys. On the flip side, do the Philadelphia Eagles stink? Yeah, they had more penalties than they had first downs. But at the same time, the Dallas Cowboys came out and handled their business. They made no excuses. They played up for the Buccaneers, up for the Chargers, and they rolled over a bad team.
Okay, their ceiling, if you can answer that in 2 sentences or fewer, do you believe this is a team that can make a deep run in the playoffs, Monica?
I really don't want to talk about this because the Washington football team defense was supposed to force them to do
Oh,
that.
no, no. This is not about your hometown team. For Philadelphia, was it more about the penalties that Monica just talked about, or that 3-run game plan they had, or Hurts' ineffectiveness? Kevin, Sirianni explained that as a result of having to keep up with the Cowboys, they were going to just run the ball 3 times. But do you believe it all?
No, I don't. That was a bad game plan. I mean, you don't have to pass the ball all the time to catch up to another team. You can do things like control the clock. I mean, they played the game like they were a flag football team with just 3 handoffs. That's crazy. Come on, you got to run the ball a little bit in this league. And some of the plays that they ran were on Hurts's fault when you heard people talking about the RPO and the fact that he was extended too long and getting his linemen in trouble.
Sarah Spain, when you taken the Eagles last night, what'd you say?
Well, first of all, I appreciate you letting us keep our hometown teams out of things today. That's nice. Also, listen, I don't think you can separate what Jalen Hurts did from the play calling, because Nick Sirianni, it feels like, got in his head about being overmatched offensively by a high-flying Dallas offense and decided as a result to take himself and his team out of it before they began. You got to get a feel for the game, try to establish your own game plan, and then adjust if necessary. And instead, it feels like he just said, I'm going to put it all in this young man's arm, not use the run game at all, not keep them guessing, and that's why probably there were more mistakes from Jalen.
Woody Page?
If you want to talk about positive teams, we can discuss the Broncos.
Oh, yeah, Woody, yeah. Now's the time to take a victory lap. 3-0, sure.
See. Easy schedule.
Well, this morning I reached out to Siri and I said, there's a coach in the league who's got a name like yours. What do you think of his play calling? And Siri wrote back and said, why doesn't he run the football occasionally so you can set up the play action passes?
That was
and that's really the case. Hurts had no chance whatsoever. What are you talking about there? That if you're not going to run the football, he said, well, we're trying to move the ball down the field. Guess what? You can do that as the Cowboys did. I already said they got more than 150 yards rushing. You didn't even try to run the football. Your best running back, Miles Sanders, got 24 yards on his first carry. Guess how many more he got after that? 1. I mean, what the hell are they doing in Philadelphia? It looks like they were trying to lose.
Something you want to add?
I just want to say, look at the balance on the other side, the Cowboys, right? 23 and 26 when you're talking about runs and passes. What a balanced attack they had.
So I said to Siri, wait a second, I got Alexa. I had no idea. Oh, man, I got the wrong woman. We'll move on. Bucks, Patriots Sunday. Preview to the preview to the preview. And here's a preview.
We weren't as good an option as Tampa. It wasn't a question of not one, that's for sure.
I'm not going to necessarily reminisce. I don't think this is the moment for that.
All right, Sarah, how do you hear him?
I love what Tom Brady had to say because I think he's coming from the place of, hey, I left and I just won. Bill Belichick is kind of having to meander around because by all accounts other than his, he did want him out. It was because those two weren't able to work together anymore. I know somebody who wants in on this story so bad. Seth Wickersham's got a book about this coming out in like 2 weeks. And you know he wishes it was out this week because I bet it exposes, and I don't know this, but I bet it exposes a lot of what Bill Belichick's saying about, oh, we wanted him. Of course, he chose as being a lie. And that's going to get juicy.
Monica McNutt.
Well, speaking of things that we get to preview, Man in the Arena, Tom Brady's documentary that's supposed to debut this fall. Listen, we're not going to get a ton of fireworks here, guys.
What are you doing here? Okay, yes, thank you.
I mean, the thing is that both of these people, as a coach and as a player, are still competing in the game today. So why spend so much energy on revisionist history or whatever you want to label the history as? They have tasks in front of them.
Kevin Blackistone.
News break. Bill Belichick and Tom Brady were not forthcoming in their feelings about one another. They're getting ready to play.
Thank you, Kevin Black.
What are we talking about here? I'm shocked. You know what? This is what I expected, and they didn't throw haymakers at each other. They kind of exchanged a rose petal or two, not the whole rose, and that's kind of the way these two guys are when they're speaking before.
And Woody?
Yes, they should have talked to Adele, not to the two of them, because at least she'd be more honest about what happened in her song. I just think that both of them are trying to slow play this. We both know, Tony, you and I, that winners write history.
Yes.
Guess what? When this is all over with and Tom Brady retires, he'll be able to write the history that he went on from the Patriots and was able to do it with another coach. And Belichick, his history is going to be like Mike Shanahan's. Can you win without John Elway, Mike Shanahan? Can you win a championship without Tom Brady? But I think he was honest when he said he had another option, and it was a better option than we were because we saw the Patriots last year. They weren't any good.
Sarah, you have a last word?
Yeah, Woody was referring to a preview that's making its way around the internet using the Adele song Hello, where it says hello from the other side, and now Tom Brady's wearing a new uniform.
Oh, hello. How
Great
are
album.
you? See, Woody, if you have Sarah around just to explain all your jokes, you guys really got something working here. Take a break right here.
Do a show.
Did you guys see Tom Brady has a new apparel line, by the way? Here's the logo. Just tell me what this logo is invoking here.
Vanilla?
Buyers.
I think everyone has their own choice to do what they feel is right for themselves and their family. I felt like it was best suited for not only me, but for my family and for my friends. And, and that's why I decided to do it. So
LeBron today at Lakers Media Day acknowledging he did get the vaccine, does not want to be a public advocate for the vaccine. The vaccine and the availability of players has been the key storyline and media days around the league all week. Warriors players were asked about Andrew Wiggins' availability for home games. If he's not vaccinated right now, he won't be able to play home games per current San Francisco City mandate. That's a similar situation for the Brooklyn Nets and Kyrie Irving. Irving couldn't even go to media day yesterday because of proof of vaccine requirements. So the question is, could the NBA start a season where players miss half the year or key games in cities that mandate either now or maybe later in the season? The league in a statement today said they need players' agreement for a league-wide mandatory vaccine, and up to the moment, the association for the players has rejected it. KB, what do you think of the two statements made by both those entities right here?
Well, I'll just address the union because that's really interesting. And you talked about LeBron James using the phrase public advocate for vaccines. On the flip side of that, I don't think that unions who are looking at their membership, 90% of whom are vaccinated, and I'm talking about all professional sports, basically, want to use their power as unions to defend a minority opinion on this situation and put their legal resources and have to go out and hire experts who are going to argue for the other side. They're in a peculiar situation. And so that's why you don't see unions in pro sports, I think, stepping up right now to defend this minority of players.
I could follow up there, Kevin. You're saying they don't want to put the energy into it. They don't want to put the oxygen out there. The oxygen's already out there, Kevin. We're less than a month away, and right now the league could be in a position where players can't play in certain cities.
And that's exactly where they are. And there's nothing that the players' union can do to change municipal laws. The only thing that they can hope for, and the only thing that the leagues can hope for, is to come to some sort of agreement between the two parties that will allow those players to be able to play. And I don't see that happening because, again, this goes back to municipality rules.
Monica McNutt, is this about the municipalities, or is it about the Players Association, or about the league making an adjustment, an agreement here?
I think it's about the municipalities because, as I texted with friends this morning, as I understand it, it's not a fireable offense not to be vaccinated. And so while the league doesn't necessarily have to pay those players for games that they missed, you can't lose your employment status behind this. And so you got to rely on what the jurisdictions decide in terms of forcing folks to get shots. There's a real world in which guys might not play half their season.
So you see that as still, that's very a real possibility for you, that the NBA goes into a season with guys missing games like this. Woody, we know the NFL incentivized vaccinations to the point where 80% of the league is vaccinated, which is a lower number reportedly than what the NBA is right now. But still, the prospect of players missing games.
I think Kevin was onto something, but if I were in charge of the Players Association, that's all I could speak to, I would hold a vote. You have a vote on whether you have collective bargaining agreements that you agree to. If 90% of the players are in favor of this, really, let's find out. Vote and make a decision based on that. In regard to the NBA, I'm saying that you've got two teams, the Warriors and the Nets right now, where players won't be able to play half the year. I think you've got to take a stronger direction if you are the commissioner of the NBA to say, we've got to address this and you're not going to play.
And Sarah Spain.
Yeah, I think it's hard to blame this on the NBA or the players right now because this is what we're seeing across the country. But it's because of disinformation campaigns. It's because of lacking digital literacy. It's because of years of trying to sow distrust in the media and anti-intellectualism. What can be controlled by the NBA is how we react to that. And instead of tiptoeing around it, letting people get away with saying it's political or personal or it's my decision, hit it hard when people make these excuses with nothing to back them up. Don't just allow players and coaches and everybody else to say it's everyone's personal choice. It's a public health crisis. It is no longer personal.
Monica, something you want to add?
I will just add, if we are trusting that 90% of the league is taken care of and this 10% is made up of superstars, they are the guys that probably can afford to miss a game check or two. So I wonder when endorsements and some of their side money people start to consider whether or not they align with what they're representing in terms of public safety, which is what this vaccine really comes down to.
You're shaking your head.
Yeah,
no.
I mean, it's half your games, though. It's not just
90%
if we're talking about that superstar
reportedly,
class,
that would mean 60 players not vaccinated. The number, if we were to.
And all of those guys certainly aren't the superstars, but ultimately we know when people start getting hit in their pocket, then they have a change of heart.
Another story at a media day came from Philadelphia. Ben Simmons was not there. Ben Simmons' name was on the lips of many who reported for Philly.
Look, every situation is different, but we have a lot of optimism that we can make it work here.
Doc Rivers would go on to say, this happens, you know. Two sides often don't see eye to eye, but they come together. Simmons' camp, to Sam Amick in The Athletic, said, it's total bull bleep, and it's run its course. Monica, what do you buy, what do you sell, Philly?
I hate the way this has gone down, but I think Simmons ultimately is going to get what he wants. The one thing Doc Rivers did say that I kind of agree with this is that this is kind of common amongst your superstars, and ultimately they get what they want. It's often a little bit more quiet than this, but it's not uncommon for guys to sign new deals and then
KB. Don't blame it on Ben. Blame it on me. I'm the one. Look, they poisoned the waters. This is the situation they created. Ben Simmons is not coming back, and they need to figure out what they can get in return for him. A guy who averaged 7 and 7 over the last course of the year, despite the fact that he can't shoot three-pointers or won't.
Do you believe that's dropping right now, what they can get for him, just because of comments like it's total bull bleep to Sam Amick?
Absolutely.
Sarah Spain, how about you?
Yeah, I hate to go full Plashke, but it's over. Whatever Morey and Doc Rivers and anybody tries to convince us that this is like other situations we've seen before, this one is not. And Monica, Doc Rivers' point was to try to convince us that this could still come together, that this happens and you don't even hear about it because they figure it out and come together. Nope, this ain't happening this time. This is over.
Woody Page, you want to weigh in here, or you're already looking pretty good for showdown? This is a risky proposition.
I just think the 76ers are living in a bizarro world if they think he's going to come back. Go ahead and make the deal. Send him somewhere else. And you can't compare it to most valuable player Aaron Rodgers because he was the least valuable player in the playoffs last year.
Sarah Spain, Monica McNutt, thanks for your time today. Woody Page, Kevin Blackstone, showdown, 2 minutes.